the next thing on the to-do list are door skins. As you can see, I've already tackled the one on the left-hand side, and it's been very challenging trying to get the door gaps right. Fit and finish in 71 was not high on the priority list, so been extremely difficult to tweak these and get them exactly right. I'm not sure I'll ever get them exactly right, but hey, we're going to do our best to get them close enough. And, still got a little bit of work to do on the front fender here, down at the bottom where it meets the rocker panel. But we're going to get started on the right door and go through it step by step with you guys and show you how I did this one. Tough work, challenging. I think the right side's got its own challenges, and we'll take a look at it now. All right, we can see right away that that the gap here at the top is pretty wide on the aft part of the door, and it narrows down here at the bottom. Along the rocker, the gap is good here, and actually it looks good now, or fairly good now, because I wound up trimming the front part of the door off just to get, you know, a fairly decent fit with this old skin. Hopefully won't have to do that with the new skin, but gap's not too bad here on the fender. The fender can scooch back some. We're a little bit tighter at the top than we are at the bottom, so again, the same as the other side, the front fender needs to kind of tweak down a little bit, which means lowering the radiator support. Or you don't want to lower the radiator support, you can jack the forward edge of the body up on the body mounts, and we may wind up doing that. Still a wide gap down here where the fender meets the rocker panel, so I'm not sure what I'm going to do about that yet as we tighten up this gap to the front of the door. Of course, that gap will tighten up as well, and I'm not sure how on other vehicles how that's handled. If they just leave a gap there, I got to do some research on that. But right now we're going to get the door off and get this door skin out, or get it off the door frame, and we got some cleaning up to do on the door frame, probably some rust repair, as well as I did some reinforcing on the inside of the door, and I'll show you what that's all about. All right, we talked about this problem a little bit when we were rebuilding these hinges, and I think you should be able to tell that right in here where, well, you probably can't tell because I cleaned it up well, but there was a big split in here. Actually, both doors had it, and I've welded it and dressed it out. You got this door hinge flat back in the right position so I could rehang the door and kind of make some measurements for the outside skin there. But what's causing that split is what we talked about when we were rebuilding the hinges. The momentum of these doors, when they hit the stop here, the internal stop of the hinge, causes stress on this skin right here, and causes it to crack. So you can, I don't know if you'll be able to pick that up or not, but maybe if I could do it without shaking the camera, you could. But the whole thing flexes here as this internal stop hits. It flexes the whole skin right in here. And you think about, right now the door is fairly light because there's no glass in it. With all that momentum, when it hits the stop with such a small lever here, it puts a lot of stress on this hinge point. So we're going to beef this up on the inside in a way which it won't interfere with our window crank and door mechanism or window mechanism, but give this some extra strength in this area. All right, a couple other areas that I want to address when we have the door apart is this area right here. Both my doors had this Bondo in it, and the left side was actually pretty caved in. I think I'm guessing this happens from people opening the door with their shoulder and just kind of leaning into it. So we're going to put a stiffener along here to kind of give this a little bit more support. We'll grind the Bondo out, straighten out this sheet metal the best we can, and put a stiffener behind it. We got a little bit of work to do here around this hole. This hole has a screw that ties the outer skin to the inner skin. Kind of gives that forward window channel some support. I'm guessing that's what that is. And there's a nut plate back here. It's a Tinnerman nut, and boy, all that's in pretty rough shape. So we'll straighten that out. You can see here, I'm not sure if this is factory or not, but somebody's been in here with the brazing rod and brazed this up, and it still looks, well, it's just cracked. So we're gonna have to go in there and clean that all out and do some more brazing in here. And we'll add some support on the inside of that for this upper window, the wing window forward track area. We'll give that some more support on the inside to hopefully keep that cracking from happening. All right, with the door off and on the stand here, we can see this area that I had to reinforce or re-weld here, where the skin had split, and before I could weld that up, I had to bring the skin kind of back into shape. So I made this little tool here that bolted to the hinge point, and then I could lean on it a little bit to close up the gap and then weld it up. This tool was used, that end was made for the A-pillars to kind of reshape them, because they were pretty tweaked out of shape as well. The bottom of this door, it's not too bad a shape. See a little bit of rust here that we'll have to cut this out and replace it. This hole here is from trim that was on the truck at one time. Some dolly work here. This is actually kind of difficult to get to without cutting out some support in there, but that's what we'll do. We'll cut out the support, do the dolly work here, and then weld the support back in. And on this side, well, more dolly work here, and a little bit of rust repair to do on this corner as well. When we get this apart, it'll probably look worse than it does here. And of course, more trim holes to fill there. Now you can see where we talked earlier about how I trimmed this edge of the door back just slightly. I took off about 1/8 of an inch. And that's what we're gonna have to do for the rest of the door skin. We'll just run the flapper wheel along here to remove that inner lip. And then once those are done, the only thing left will be to cut that tab, and we'll cut it with the Ziz wheel there on the skin side of it, the outer skin side of it, and then clean up the tab once we can get easy access to it. And then we'll have to grind back that brazing there to release the outer door skin. All right, with all that edge ground on the bottom side here, we can just pull this little strip off and reveal the mess underneath. So, well, doesn't look too bad. We'll get in there with a wire wheel and clean it up. A little bit crunchy, but nice and straight. That's good. The other one wasn't so straight, and also kind of reveals that when they assembled this, not really any spot welds, and they didn't use any kind of glue or structural adhesive. All they did is, looks like they put it together dry, You can see some seam sealer here along the edge to try to keep the moisture out, but kind of a dismal job. We can do better, I believe. Okay, found 4 spot welds here on the front edge and about the same on the trailing edge, the back edge as well. So I'm going to get a burr after these and try to get these spot welds up without tearing up the inner door panel or the door frame too much. So we're pretty cleaned up. This looks pretty good till we get down into this corner right here, and you can see just the way this thing is formed with this little stiffener in here just allowed it to collect moisture and dirt and cause it to rot from the inside out. So we'll nibble that off, replace that corner, and then along the bottom here, well, we got some rust on this as well. I'm not too dissatisfied with this. I might leave it, clean it up. Once we wire wheel the inside of it, we'll if it gets any worse, we'll probably wind up trimming that off and splicing it in as well. Got a little bit of rust here where the drain hole is. Again, not too bad. All this will get reinforced with that new skin panel when it gets laid over, and we're going to do it wet with an epoxy, so no chance of moisture getting in there again. And then we get into this corner here. I think I'm going to wait and see on this as well. This once we start wire wheeling it in here, it might develop some holes, and if that's the case, we'll wind up replacing this corner as well, and then the rest of it looks good all the way up. So all in all, this door is actually in better shape than the driver's side door, which I guess stands to reason. That's the one that takes all the abuse. But if you if you look inside, it's kind of scary, but it's really nothing horribly bad. Some surface rust. Get down in here and it might be a little bit pitted, and here's our corners that we have to deal with. This is the one that's not so bad, although you can certainly see there's a good bit of rust there. And here's the one that we'll have to cut out and replace. And we talked earlier about some dolly work needing to be done in this corner and the reinforcing that's already in this door. So that's what I said will have to be cut out, the dolly work done, and then this welded back in. And up here on our top hinge point is where we're going to do some reinforcing to give this hinge a little bit more strength, as well as some bracing in here to give this arm some strength, and a brace going across here to keep this from bending. Well, lots of wire wheeling to do in here, so I'm going to get at it. All right, we made a little bit of progress here with the wire wheels and the sanders, and taking all kinds of different tools to clean this up. Still got some work to do, but you can see what happens when the wire wheel gets away from you. Ouch. So we're I'm a little bit sore right now. I'm going to move on to working on this corner here. I cut a patch panel already to go right here, 20 gauge, whoops, upside down, go like this, and now I'm going to cut it out here with the Ziz wheel, and we'll put this panel right in here. We hacked that out with the whiz wheel and the bandsaw, and the fit's good. So now I'm going to take it over on the bench and use my joggler I hope you can see. So there's a joggle to this. I mean, you got to create some way to trap the moisture and dirt, right? So let's go over there and create a pocket to trap moisture and dirt. All right, well, we want to make sure we joggle this thing in the right direction because it's embarrassing when you do it wrong. But let's see, this is the inside of the door and the joggle gets pushed that way. That's how I remember it. And that's pushing it away with my my joggler here, my quality, what is this thing? It's Harbor Freight, Central Pneumatic joggler here. So if we start taper here, so see, I got to be able to see here when I go around the corner. Well, let's start on this side, do this one. Yeah, probably have to have a square corner on there. It's about the best we're going to be able to do. Theirs has got a nice round corner here, or you know, theirs was obviously stamp formed, not done with a joggler machine like this one. But that's gonna be suitable. It's gonna add some stiffness in this corner and a place for the dirt and moisture to collect. That's not going to happen because of the way that we're going to put the door skin on, but it'll definitely add some stiffness to it. Now I'm going to dolly this flat on the end. I always have that problem when you kind of overlapped with the joggle machine here, but I'll dolly it flat and we'll be in good shape here. All right, I'll set up over here to spot weld or I don't know, stitch weld, whatever you want to call this. We're just gonna lay a series of small tack welds along here, hopefully with enough penetration to go all the way through it. I'm hoping not to have to weld it on the other side. We'll see how that goes, but I want to do it kind of slow, so I may not keep you involved in every bit of this because I want to be able to every once in a while feel this to make sure it's still centered up, and I also want to take it real slow so this doesn't get all warped up from the heat. So it'll just be a couple of tacks and then maybe dollying it flat again, and then a couple of more tacks, and it's this is a game of patience at this point. So let's get old Sparky fired up here. I think we should be set. May start right here in the middle since it's good and lined up. A good tack right here. All right, now I think I'm gonna do the ends right up next to the pliers. All right, now move these. See if I can square this up. Get a little piece of that lip there. All right, now I'm going to go on each side of these welds. Everything feels really good and flush. Maybe a little bit high there. Penetration feels good. Oh yeah. So let's get a weld on each side of those. Alright, now I think I'm gonna on each side of these clamps. Alright, let's see if we need the clamps anyplace else. That's good. A little lip right there. Alright, now let's see if we can get one on each side of that clamp. I have never welded a clamp to my work. Believe that, right? All right, let's try to finish it up. All right, let's hit it with a grinder and see what we get. All right, got started without you, sorry, but too much excitement here. I'm gonna, just hit this with the flapper wheel here, and I'll pay attention to all of it, but I'm gonna try to sand it down to fairly flush here on these edges, but right here in the middle, we don't need it perfect in here. This is the inside of the door frame, and we want to leave a little bit of this weld just for some structure, for some stiffness, and there's no need to risk grinding it down till you burn a hole in the all the way through it. So I'm going to knock the top edge of this off and get it kind of close. We certainly don't want it bumping into the door skin, but we've got this recessed amount here, I don't know, 30 thousandths or so. So it can be a little bit proud of the surface finish there. All right, there's the before and there's the after. Didn't take long to get it done, so well worth doing. I think we're going to be good for another 50 years now. I think this piece is done. Okay, on the inside of the door, it took just a little bit of sanding. There's good penetration through here, so just a little bit of sanding, and it smoothed up real nice. I got this fairly smooth right here on where the door skin is going to lap over this edge. This side I didn't spend a whole lot of time, although it's plenty good, because I think I'm going to wind up changing a section of this leg as well. All right, nothing new to see here, just one more rotted out corner to change. And I've already made the panel for it, same way I made the other one. Ziz wheel, weld, grind, done. Won't take any time at all. Here we go. Presto, just like that. 50 years of rust, gone. All right, here's the front side or the outside of the door at that hinge, the upper hinge point where it cracked, and it actually cracked on both doors in the same spot. One was worse than the other. I believe it was the driver's side that was worse than the passenger side. I wouldn't swear to that, but either way, I flexed this panel back into place and then welded it and then polished it out there, sanded it out so it's fairly smooth. We want to keep that from happening again, and I'm not 100% sure what's going on here. I mean, there's a couple of layers here in this door, and this big doubler, stamped doubler here that stiffens the door. And it wasn't cracked. It was right on the other side of this, or the skin on the other side of this doubler where it cracked. But I added a stiffener on the other door, and I'm going to do this one as well. It's easy to do. It's not going to cause any problems. At least I hope it doesn't. And we'll weld that in, and that hopefully will stiffen this this hinge point to keep it from flexing and to keep it from cracking on the outside here. All right, we're gonna add a stiffener up here as well. This arm that goes up that supports the wing window is, or the vent window, whatever you want to call it. obviously the way it was cracked on the outside around the skin area, it does a lot of flexing. So you can see just the manufacturing process where the way they kinked it here, which has got to weaken this structure significantly. So we're going to add triangulation here to stiffen it, and really the part that comes up here and welds to the skin, I'll tack it along here to the skin, but this is the area that we're going to add a decent bead all along here to strengthen this joint where they kink it. Hey, this is a stiffener that I'm putting in right where that the top of the indoor of the panel, I think, gets bumped with the shoulder for people to open the door. Both mine were caved in, and a significant amount of Bondo was used in them. So I'm going to try to stiffen them a little bit. I stiffened the other side, not quite the same way. I only used one bead on the other one. And I decided I'd made some new rollers for my bead roller that are more of I was trying to mimic a hat section of material like we use in aircraft to see if I could get some more stiffness out of this. This is just 20 gauge, and I rolled it through there twice, and now I'm going to spot weld it or plug weld it here every 3 inches, and then some tacks on the outside. I've got a big thick piece of it's 4 by I think it's 3/8 or 1/2 inch plate clamped to the bottom, or actually the inside of the door panel there, to take the heat. It's still going to deform the outside of the sheet metal a little bit, but I think this whole piece is going to need a skim of Bondo on it to smooth it up, because I've worked it as much with a hammer and dolly as I can, and I just can't get it super straight. I'm not real good with the hammer and dolly. So I'm going to stiffen it, and then we're about done with this door. All right, that stiffened things up a bit. Let's take a look at the other side. Yeek, looks like it's got the measles. And you can see I worked it, well, this is grinder marks where I was a little aggressive getting the Bondo out of it, but it's pretty wavy just from me working it with the dolly. There's about a 1/4 inch of Bondo right in this area, so I think a little sanding now, and then a little skim of Bondo across this thing should smooth up and be good shape. All right, I've got it all cleaned up, and I've had it back outside, sprayed it down with some POR. What is this? POR 15 metal prep, and it's supposed to change it to I don't know, one of these rust conversions, or prep the metal. Let's see, what does it say on here? I mean, it's good stuff. I don't mean making light of it because I like it, but it says remove surface rust, non-flammable, reusable, professional use, prepare surface for best adhesion for the POR 15 rust preventer coating. And it's the same, really kind of the same process we took the frame through, except we sandblasted the frame and then used that metal prep on it, and then applied both types of POR 15 on the door here. I'm just going to use the POR 15. It's not the top coat. On the frame we use this and the top coat. This apparently is good enough, but doesn't handle UV very well. But since the inside of the door won't be seeing any UV, then it's going to work perfect for this single coat application here. So not only will I do the inside of the whole door panel, but I'm also going to do the back side of the lip here, where the door skin will peel around or roll around and squeeze this flange here. So I'm going to flip it over and start with that, and then flip it over and paint this on. And this stuff is moisture cured. Hey, we got a great day here in Georgia. Today about 72 degrees and no humidity, so it'll take a long time for it to set up. I noticed, if I paint it in the summertime when it's really humid, it really only takes about 2 or 3 hours for it to get hard to the touch. Takes a little bit longer than that before it gets real scratch resistant or chip resistant. But when it does cure up, this stuff is harder than nails. So good stuff. And here I go. All right, there's some do's and don'ts with this POR-15. You don't want to use the paint straight out of the bucket. It's moisture cure, and something about dipping your paintbrush in and out of the quart can will cause it to go off, and then whatever you don't use is going to be garbage the next time you go to use it. Now, I know this is probably the fourth quart of this stuff that we've used. Some of it we've got to the bottom and used every bit of it. Some of it did not. I know that, let me grab the can. If you dribble it around the edge here, I mean, this stuff reacts and binds to metal, and if you get it, like we normally do when we pour out of quart cans, get it in here, and boy, you'll ruin the can trying to get it open the next time. So I've been taking a Q-tip and some wax and rubbing it around there, cleaning it out first and then rubbing the wax around there and then putting the lid back on, and that's worked pretty good. This can is almost empty, and I've got to the bottom of it, so it's been working well using that method. But the can is starting to get kind of deformed. This last time I pulled the cover off, it was pretty stuck. Yeah, so don't dip it straight out of the quart. So pour it into something and try to be clean when you're pouring it. And the other thing is wear gloves, because if you get it on you, no joke, it's stuck to you for about a week. And unless you want to use something like lacquer thinner or something to wipe it off from you right while it's still wet, if it cures up on your skin, you won't be going to the dance with your wife, that's for sure. Or she won't, she'll be embarrassed, like my wife is when she goes, well, wherever we go. I can usually embarrass her with my dirty hands and beat up hands. But that's about it. I'm going to slather the rest of this on. It's pretty easy. You just, it's self-leveling, does pretty good. I'm not being real neat with it in here. It's all about coverage here and not neatness. But I'll get it on, and you'll see when it cures out, it'll be pretty flat and look good. So that's all I got to say about that. Well, how about that, huh? Looks pretty good. That POR is hard as a rock. It's just been, overnight and dried up nicely. Looks good. I tell you what, if I didn't mention it earlier, that POR goes on rough metal a lot better than it does slick metal. So that's why it's kind of imperative to use that the metal prep stuff that kind of etches it and roughens up the metal. And light rust, it really likes a layer of light rust too, if you can stand to put it on over the top of that. But hey, this is good stuff. We will add a coat of let's see, this stuff, Rust-Oleum truck bed coating on the inside as well. I don't know why. It's what I did on the other side. This is available at Home Depot, and it seems like it's pretty tough as well. So coat of that on the inside of the inner door panel as well as the door skin, and we're going to take a look at that right now. All right, here's our door skin. It is a Tri-Plus door skin. bought through AMD. Real fortunate to be close to AMD. They're just up north of here, about 45 minutes or so. And I also have a friend that works up there who's been very helpful for us getting those panels, not only getting the panels, but delivering them to me after work sometimes, which is great, but real convenient to get up there and pick them up myself as well. We're going to spray the inside of this door panel with that bed liner, as well as add a couple of pieces of 15 by 20 inch noise suppressant. I think it's an aluminum clad butyrate noise suppressor to go in there. Stuck real well to the left-hand door, and I think it's going to do better for suppressing the noise. Well, at least better than the original factory spray in whatever they use to spray on the inside. It looks pretty rough, but we're going to do a little test fitting first. We'll put the inner door panel in and take a look, see how it fits. I did have to do a little bit of modification on the skin right up in this area, and the same on the other side over here. I had to tap that down a little bit, make a couple of notches in it to get the door to squeeze together at the top. All right, I wanted to show you guys this skin, this new skin over here on the left-hand door, and some of the issues that I had installing it. And it looks like it's going to be the same or worse over on the right-hand side, but right in here where the skin fits up against this forward window support, vent window, I guess, or wing window, whatever you want to call it, I wound up working these edges over quite a bit to try to get this gap right. The dimension between the inner panel and the outer panel, measured what the stock panels were. The problem is the stock panels were pretty beat up, and this was all brazed in here. I'm not sure if that's factory or not. I'll probably wind up brazing these together as well. But this inner dimension on the panels that I removed was about 7/8 of an inch here, with where the wing window goes, the vent window, and then you can see the stamping where it's widened out a little bit to accept the forward, the back of the wing window, and the forward channel for the regular window. And then that dimension here was about an inch all the way back to here, to the back support. Now, the same on the back part of the skin here, I had to work this edge to try to tighten up this dimension, but was unable to get it completely down to an inch. It's a little over an inch here, which I hope is going to work. But like I said, I beat away and hammered away, and really called it quits when the inner door panel, the flange for the inner door panel, rested up against the inside of the skin here, or pretty darn close to it. So let me take you over to the right side skin. All right, you guys probably can already tell, but the distance here on this right-hand door panel is significantly wider than the left one. And I'm not sure exactly what to do, but I'm going to peel this tape off. I've taken these dimensions in about the same place along the length of the door, and I'll have to flip it over so these numbers will be upside down, but we'll compare it to the left-hand door, the driver's door. All right, so what I was measuring was the distance between this rolled over edge here and basically the edge of the panel where it tucks underneath, and you can see from the ruler there, that's about 1/8 of an inch. On the other door, it's 1/2 an inch. So 3/8 of an inch difference in that flat right there. If we slide down, the right hand door is 3/4 of an inch. It's 5/8 of an inch. So right here, this is 5/8 of an inch on this flat. Move down right here before it knuckles in or creases in to hold the back of the vent window. This one's 11/16 of an inch, 7/8 of an inch, 1/2 inch to 3/4 on this side. That's just this flat where they creased it over. So it's down, 9/16 to 11/16, so 1/8 of an inch difference there. 11/16 to 5/8 right here, and at the very end, this is 3/16 of an inch, and then the right side is 3/8 of an inch. So significantly different. Significantly. All right, we're back over on the right-hand door, and originally when I started looking at this problem, I thought the door on the left, or the door skin on the left door, was proper, and this one was the one that was off. But now, after a little bit of investigation, I think it's the other way around, that this one is actually right, and the other one is probably off. But here's the problem right now is, you see this gap. I know it's hard to tell with all this black paint in here, but this is the flange for the inner door panel, and this is the door skin, and there's a pretty significant gap there that we have to get out. We have to squeeze that together, which means, where's it hitting? Well, it's hitting along this edge right here, which is the same problem I had with the left-hand door, and I had to keep working that edge right where this window frame comes out until that skin flushed up against or fell against that flange there. So when we curl these edges around, we get a nice tight fit. Well, it's going to take quite a bit of carving on this one to get that gap out. It's more than the other door skin was. But I think it's going to make this gap between the outer and the inner just right. Back here on the back side of the door, you can see, or maybe you can see, that there's really not much gap between that flange and the door skin. It's pretty tight, and it's got to have a little bit of the spring taken out of it, but I think once we clamp it on up tight, oops, there we go, clamp it up tight, this gap is going to be just perfect, about an inch. I'm sorry, yeah, that's an inch, and up here it should be around 7/8 of an inch. So if you look, let's see, over the right way. Right now we're an inch and a little over an inch from. I got a little parallax on the ruler here, so at least 1/8 of an inch, probably more like 1/4 of an inch, has to draw in, which is exactly what we have here. So I only regurgitate all this, so maybe it helps somebody else that's changing these door skins that runs into the same problem, and it can be frustrating to figure out how to solve this problem. And this will be the second door skin I've ever put on, that left side being the first. So here we go. I think what I'm going to do is try to carve this. I may actually wind up cutting a bunch of that metal out of there and letting that drop on down, tighten up that gap, and I'll wind up brazing these anyways. I don't want to really leave just a sharp edge. I like the fact that this edge has been curled over, and I'd like to don't know, maybe trim some more out of that, I don't know, and then curl it over. Let me beat on it a while, and I'll show you what I come up with. All right, the two pieces separated again, and not great visibility here on this video, but a lot of black in the background, isn't there? Let's see, move my grinder, see if that helps out any. Not really, but I think I'm going to cut along this silver line and then try to bend it along the gold line there. And I won't be able to bend it the same way. Maybe that's a good thing, because look how cobbled up it is. But mine will probably look the same. All I'm trying to do is leave a little bit of mass here, so when we braze this together, it has a prayer of bonding good. But on these sharp corners, without it being in some kind of die, it would be difficult. I won't be able to bend this around in a corner like this. So probably going to have to take the Ziz wheel here and cut down, and then maybe again where this peak is, to try to get it to crease along this gold line here. It's in pretty good shape here now. It's not the prettiest right in here. That 90-degree corner was a little bit much, I think, but I didn't know how else to do it. But we'll braze that in and fair that in nicely. Our gap here looks good. This is a 3/4 inch block, and it looks pretty good along here. This takes a couple of spot welds or brazing or something, and then from here on back we're right at 1 inch, so I'm real satisfied with that. Also, well, let me get it back on the table. Okay, as you can see, with a little bit of light clamp pressure, we sucked up that 1/4 inch gap, and things are fitting pretty good. I think I'm happy with it, so I think it's time to press on, but not tonight. I'm going to let the cat patrol in, and I'm headed into the hot tub. All right, back at it, trying to get this door skin bonded to this door frame, and what we're going to use to bond it is the aviation structural adhesive, and I just happen to have a quart of it here. When I started doing the research on how to put this door skin on, I saw that I think the newer door panels are all bonded and not welded, and looked like that was a great way to go. And then I started looking at what to bond it with, and there's lots of different materials out there, different seam sealers and different products to use. Some of it single part, some of it 2-part. And as I was looking at the cost to do all that, I thought, well, what the heck am I going to, buy another product and, a different type of applicator gun to do it when I've got this stuff and I know it works. I know how to use it. I know it works very well. It's going to be very strong. It's going to displace the moisture. It's going to do everything I want it to do, so why not use it? So I won't even show you what brand it is or the part number on it, because you're probably going to use something different. So I'm going to go mix it up, and we'll get to spreading it. But this is the most important tool here, I think, is gloves, because when this stuff gets on your hands, it's there for quite some time, unless you use lacquer thinner. It's kind of like the POR here. If you use lacquer thinner when it's still wet, it'll come off, or MEK. But the less exposure we have to that stuff, I think the better off we are. So let me get to mixing it up, and we'll get to applying it. All right, we got the goo all mixed up here, ready to go, and I'm going to start at the top and just spread about a 1/16 of an inch layer all the way around the outer edge here, and I will cover this whole corner, both the corners up, to try to fill these pockets up with structural adhesive, so there's no possibility of it collecting moisture or dirt. All right, last chance to make sure everything's done on your door skin. We've got it painted the way we want it with our bed liner, got our soundproofing in, and I think our edges are protected well. So we're going to go ahead and mate these two pieces together. All right, we're going to clamped up here and use my high-tech PVC clamps. But it adds just enough pressure, I think, to kind of help settle things in. And to make sure that gets done, I'm going to kind of walk around it and warm it up with my heat gun, just to kind of let those two parts settle in. And if there's any high spots or where the high spots in the sealant is, we'll smooth on out, and we'll get a good bond here. All right, we got some good squeeze out going, and now I'm going to come along with my spreader, and I'm going to add some sealant along the inside of this inner lip here, and then kind of even out the areas that have a lot of squeeze out. All right, we're all glued up here, and now it's time to start swinging a hammer. This is a door skin body hammer that I bought off of, I got it from Harbor Freight, and I like it. It's a pretty good set. I think it was about 29 bucks. It was fairly reasonably priced. It's got a spoon and two different dollies, but what's special about it is this crook in this side of the hammer, which allows us to fold up this bottom lip here. The way the door is angled, it's not a 90 degree here, or this might be a little over 90 degrees. You can swing a regular body hammer on the front and the back edge of the door, but on the bottom edge of the door, you just can't swing a hammer in there because it's less than 90 degrees. So you need the crook in this hammer to get it done. So the pot life on this sealant is about 2 hours, and we're a good bit into that, probably 30-45 minutes. So I'm going to start swinging the hammer here. Oh geez. This is going to take quite some time because you have to work the edge back slowly. You just can't pound it back in a hurry. You got to kind of work it back, and it's a lot of moving clamps and stuff like that. And I'll work the front side and the back side and the bottom, and work my way around. I'll try to film as much of it as I can, but I got to get going here. All right, guys, after about 45 minutes, literally 45 minutes of pounding and working this edge over, we finally got it laid down. And while the sealant was still wet, we assembled the door to the truck. Now here's something that I think would have been advantageous if I'd have thought about it before, but these hinges are slotted and you can move them up and down, Let's see, this one's tight. So it'll move back and forth to adjust the door gaps on it. And you can see I marked it here, that's on the bottom side of the slot, and here it is on the top side of the slot. I think it would be smart if you set it to the center position, tighten them down, and then assembled the door onto the truck after you bend these edges over with the sealant still wet. Put the door back on the truck. So with the door lined up with the rear bedside or the fender, whatever you're dealing with, there's actually, you have the ability, since that sealant is still wet, you can actually twist the door. And I assembled mine and actually needed to twist the door slightly to make the door skin line up. I mean, the whole thing will kind of rack or flex. And then I taped the back side of the door to line up with the rear bed side, and then let it sit for a couple of days to let this sealant dry up good, or cure up. It doesn't dry, it actually cures because it's a chemical process. So that's done. But now I'm going to sand things up. This is sandable, it's paintable, so I'll clean things up, get rid of this light surface rust, and get it ready for epoxy primer. But you can see that this sealant makes a good seal, so there's just no possibility for moisture to get down in this crack anymore and to cause corrosion in there. And the same with the inside. I'll probably still spray some undercoating in the bottom side of this thing to even keep more, keep it out completely. But this sealant goes a long ways for encapsulating all this in here and keeping the moisture out. So that's it for the door skin. Both doors are done. I had a heck of a time getting these the door gaps to line up. I'm still struggling with it, but I don't expect it to be perfect. I mean, rocker panels, front fenders, door skins, and rear bed sides. They're all new and all aftermarket. So, boy, I tell you what, I've learned a lot from it, and that part I appreciate. But that's going to be it for this video on the door skins, and I appreciate you guys watching. And as always, if I've done something wrong, or if you have comments about things that I can do different or better, I take it well. And please don't hesitate to pass them on. Get out there and get something done in your shop.